Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, June 28th, 2021. I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Othello School District Board of Directors. We will begin our meeting with the flag salute tonight. Want to welcome all our guests, those that are here in the boardroom with us. Thank you for being here. Those of you that are watching us online, thank you for joining us as we conduct our business tonight. Having said that, I will entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I motion we approve the agenda. Sorry, Ken.
There's been a motion made by Director Prowse, seconded by Director Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry.
Motion carries 5-0. Do we have any public comment tonight? No public comment. I would like to remind the public that there is a venue, an avenue for public comment at these meetings. Moving on to item B2, board member discussion. Director Stevenson, is there a lead report?
I know that 3 of you were not able to attend when we had our state legislators come. Was that Friday? Only Friday? Was that last week? Yeah. Wow. Okay. We had a week ago. Yes. Anyways, right. Week and a half ago, whatever. It was a very great open dialogue. Representative Dye was not able to be present, but she was by phone. She had a family emergency that she had to attend to. So, and then had Representative Schmick and Senator Schessler here. Great, just open conversation, back and forth, questions on how we could help each other, which went both ways. And one of the comments was, conversations that we had was about face masks for next year with our students. And we all kind of said, wonder what the 30th is going to bring from the governor. They did give us a suggestion, but we didn't follow through with doing it. It was write a letter to the governor saying, please let local boards make the decision on mask wearing. Because we felt like our board would all agree with us on wanting that decision to be made locally instead of from the state. But we didn't, like, you weren't in the room, so we just assumed. Kind of late for us to write a letter and make it change anything by Wednesday. Anyways, great conversation. Want to do it again. Didn't set up a specific timeline, but what do you think about like October? I think that we need to keep open communication with these three, and October's not like too soon, but everybody's going to be gearing up for the next session and stuff. So, is that something that we could put on our calendar for just an October to be determined date? Meeting with state legislators. And hopefully we can find a date that works for all 8 of us. The 3 of them, the 5 of us, plus the district. So I'm seeing head nods. So President, are you good with that? Okay.
Yes, I think we should try to continue having collaborations as much as we can with those folks.
I also appreciate that you guys talked about the mask thing, because I hear people ask me that question. I don't know if that's for everyone on the board, but for me, that's the #1 thing people are asking me about. Like, they already have it in their heads, okay, we're going back full time. What about masks? Like, when are these going away or becoming optional or anything like that? So I appreciate that that's on the minds of the legislatures as they get ready.
There was something that Senator Schessler said that he has been consistently working on trying to change to, I'm going to have to pull out my notes on this one. He is trying to create a school depreciation law change, whatever, I'm not sure what the right term would be, that school districts could take 1 to 2% of their annual budget and put it into a locked safe, is how the term that he used, that could not be touched unless the board chooses to, like for capital projects or things like that. It not touched by associations, not touched by, we're short, and so we need to, we want to buy, anyways.
It was, he mentions it as major repairs as well. That would help us get into some sort of systemic replacement of a roof every 5 years or a HVAC or what have you, and it wouldn't, that's money that's there. It can't be accessed or touched by anybody else for other than a couple specific reasons. He was working on, I guess he's been trying for several years trying to get that approved, and I think it sounds like he's getting closer, or he thinks he is.
He gets a little bit further every year because he keeps putting it in.
Okay, so question, what's stopping us from doing that now? Like, what stops us from having like
What's
the
different
capital
between
savings
is,
account?
so we have like our 10% that we're just making sure, like, slush fund's not the right term. Reserve. Thank you, reserve. Every time I forget that right word. This cannot be touched by associations. It cannot be touched. There's only certain things where if, let's say a negotiation went, we didn't have a superintendent that protected the interests, the long-term interests of the district. Or let's say that there was, for some reason, negotiations can't take it away. That's the best way that he explained it to us. Is there another, am I missing anything else?
I think the way I understood it, Lindsay, we certainly could set aside the money, and the boards for the last several years have demonstrated a history of doing that and being fiscally responsible. The change would be that essentially it would become law. It would be illegal to use that funding for some other purpose. And
There we
so
go.
if any particular group or expense that the district wanted to use, you could not use that money. So that was really the big difference, was it's locked away in an account designated only for that type of activity.
Okay, thank you.
Much better explanation. Thank you, Pete. So anyways, and he asked for our support and to have that locking mechanism, I think. And the long-term plan for, we're going to do, we know this is coming. And our district is actually very financially sound. And I'll share a little bit something more once we get to the superintendent informational items from the state version. But anyways, that's my legislative report.
All right, thank you for that. So other than the to be determined meeting with these folks, anything else that anybody saw on the calendar that needs tweaked or adjusted, or?
I have a quick question. The admin retreat that we're doing in August, are the student reps invited to that, or no? That's just regular school board?
That's an awesome question that we've never addressed. The intent is,
I don't know what that noise was. It was my thinking. I'm sorry.
I think the intent is to build better relationships of trust between the board and
the
admin.
administrators?
If that's what our intent is, I don't know if the student reps need to be present.
I had the
I don't
same
think
thought.
so.
I was gonna say, I think it's more for our relationship building.
No, and I think what we might do in the future for them, if maybe the same kind of retreat, or the five of us and them to maybe help them. I mean, if they got any questions, or if there's anything we want them to do more, or elaborate more on their reports, or if we've got a specific task that we think falls within their purview to do. I think them with us, I think would probably be the same as us with the administrators.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessary, in my opinion, that they be there.
That would be a great workshop
Yeah.
to have just with them, especially since we have a new one, and it's always good to do training. Pete, I wanted to hear your input on student
Yeah, I think
reps
I'm
there.
in alignment with what the board is suggesting. It seems like it's a conversation for the 5 regular board members and the administrators. I guess we could circle back with OAA and get their perspective on that if you'd like us to, but I know I don't want to speak for them, but I imagine they'd be similarly aligned with us. But I can check in with them if you'd like.
I think that's beneficial to at least get their perspective.
Sure. All righty. Plus deltas, reviewing our last assessment. I think I like that there was only the one thing that we thought we could change in the future, and I think we had a very good discussion around the length of presentations, the fairness to the folks with their presentations. Sometimes, well, I'm the one that bears the bad news, and at our visit says, hey, don't forget, you got X amount of minutes, try to keep it within that, and maybe I'm making it harder on them to fully, give us all the great things that's going on, and especially when the subjects are, as Pete mentioned at the last meeting where we had our presenters, it's about the education portion of it and then the things going on. So I think all our what worked well, I think we're doing good. I think we're slowly but surely going to get into the flow of shortening our meetings, being more precise, and getting our questions to the appropriate people if we have any in a timely manner, things of that nature.
I have a question. So clarity on the length, like we're not defining the length. I guess I was present,
Yeah.
but when I read this, I was like, I don't know what that means.
Maybe give them more than 20 minutes.
Okay.
Be a little more lenient. They do it once a year.
Right.
And maybe we're tying their hands is how I perceived it, not giving them enough time.
Okay.
We should consider, hey,
can-
you know what? Maybe let's give them a little more time.
Can we change the definition, or can we change the wording then? Clarity on the length of presentations? Maybe.
I think that was actually my delta at the meeting, and what it meant for me was, can we get clarity on an appropriate amount of time? They knew what the appropriate amount of time was, but was it enough? Do we think it's enough? And so really it was for us to consider in our next few presentations, should we add 10 minutes? Do we like where it's at? So it was clarity for us, not for them.
So I wasn't here. Can I get some clarity? Did they need more time?
I think what we discovered is they actually went over time just a bit, but what you can sense when folks are presenting is they're cautious and paying attention to the time. They want to do a really good job, but it was an excellent conversation and it was excellent information. So if 20 minutes isn't enough and we've selected 20 minutes because meetings feel too long, can we adjust in other areas and say, well, we're going to give you 30 and see how that goes? I think it wouldn't change really. It would be 30 minutes anyway because there was about that. But it's around us getting clear so they don't feel so nervous.
Yeah.
So they feel like, well, I'm meeting the standard because the rubric says 30 minutes. That's all it was about.
Well, and it's 20 minutes of presentation, and then there's Q&A after. Is typically how we've done it. So the Q&A isn't included.
Yeah.
So
And it might be one of the topics or discussion that we have with them on
At
August.
the admin
Yeah.
retreat?
See how they feel about their
do we
allotted
have a
time.
board meeting before the admin retreat, or is that our next meeting?
Yeah, we have 2 meetings, don't we, in July?
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Before
It's
August.
summer. My brain's not. Can we see tentative agenda topics? Maybe at the next. I don't know if we'll be ready at the next meeting to have those, just so that if there's something that we go, oh, we really need to add this, just so we don't show up at a meeting and go, oh, what was the agenda? I don't know. Maybe. Does anyone else agree with that?
I think it's going to be collaboration I think we need to get our minds together on what we think should be there and what you guys are going to present. I think there needs to be a conversation around that. Or when they were presented an agenda, if we have anything that we feel should be incorporated into that, I think we notify them and say, hey, can we include this? I mean, that would.
Yeah, so I think what we can do in the next couple of days is communicate with OAA about the proposed agenda, and then at a minimum get that to you at the next board meeting, perhaps before that, and then share it publicly at the next board meeting as well to get some feedback from you, but we can certainly do that.
Pete, did we find a location for that? Are we doing it at the same place we did our board retreat?
Actually, we're going to use DOHS. We're
Oh,
going to use
okay.
that facility. Yep.
Cool.
In the gym, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right, moving on. I don't see either of our board reps here tonight. Hopefully
No.
they're healthy, they're good, and they're just busy.
Yeah, Elise
Okay.
had to work and Consuelo isn't feeling well, so.
Okay. Hopefully she feels better soon. Moving on to item C1, required approvals. I will entertain a motion to approve required approvals tonight.
I have a few questions before we get to the approvals. On accounts payable, what is school fix for $18,000? That is something I haven't seen before that I've noticed.
Yeah, School Fix is a company that worked with us to provide a covering for the OHS gym floors. It's quite costly to repair the gym floors and to refinish and redo those. And so we made an investment in a product that allows us to provide coverage for the gym floors and prevents damage protection. From time to time, we've been having folks use our facility. I know we had the sort of career and tech show where folks came in and brought their equipment in and things like that, and there was some slight damage to the floor. And so trying to save the expense of redoing that floor annually, this cover will help with that, extend the life of the work.
Awesome. That sounds great. And then Invest Ed Trust Fund, that's the last page. Typically, these are very small numbers, but what exactly is this page top? What is this?
Yeah, so since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we've received additional funding in that area, and so in this time it's just above $26,000 to address digital equity. That's really the driving concern behind the funding. And so in the past, that funding had only been used for Othello High School, but the new grant dollars, they're required that we use those district-wide to respond to the pandemic. And so the amounts in payables were for reimbursement to the district for we purchased a set of electronic library books to give kids more access during this sort of COVID shutdown.
Awesome. The teachers, let's see. Hold on. I think that this changed slightly from the last time I looked at it. We're going into 21-22, right? Oh my gosh. I guess I have summer brain. So why are we now approving the teachers that were out of their endorsement for 2021?
Let me call up that document.
Or is that just incorrect dates?
Nope, that's a correct document. It looks like it was prepared by Sandra, so we'll have Sandra provide some clarity for you around that particular item.
So you typically see this report twice a year. We, before school starts, we look at all the teachers and what they're going to be teaching in the semesters, and then we do a similar report beginning of the school year. Things change throughout the year, so at the end of the school year, grades post, and we have to look back and see if there's any additional teachers that taught outside of their endorsed area, and if so, we have to get them board approved.
So we're approving these after the fact,
These are after the fact, yes.
and these why did we not know at the beginning of the year that this would happen?
There's typically schedule changes that go on throughout the year, shuffling around, particularly this year because of COVID and whatnot. But typically we try to catch them all at the beginning of the year, but typically this is what happens is there are some stragglers that we have to get board approved after the fact.
Okay, I understand that can happen. Can we please see these at the beginning of the year and the beginning of the next semester, if that's the case? Because you knew all semester long that these teachers, not you maybe specifically, but
Right.
in theory that these guys, I guess it feels really bad for us to approve something that's already happened that has to be approved by us. Because if we don't approve it, then what? I assume we're only approving it because there's a state law.
Right, there is a WAC associated to this. So I think what we can do is just make sure we touch bases with the principals before every semester begins and see if there's any changes and folks teaching out of their endorsed area and try to get that report before the board at least.
That would be better, thank you.
Yes.
I know that there are, and then my last, this isn't necessarily a question. I know that we have 2 salary matrices that we are being asked to approve. I want to say that we have awesome staff, and I wish that we could pay everyone way more because majority of our staff are worth more than we pay them. And I wish that we had an unlimited budget to pay them what they're really worth. So, sadly, with that part, I would like to move that we approve the required approvals.
There's been a motion made to approve required approvals. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve account payable warrants 2.
I move we approve accounts payable warrants 2.
Motion's been made by Director Stevenson. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Schutte. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And I will be abstaining from that vote.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
I'm sorry, there's something that I should have addressed in the board member discussion. The Chamber of Commerce has changed their banquet because of COVID to August 20th. Typically it's in February. They have an Educator of the Year for elementary and for secondary every year. They've changed the title to Educator instead of Teacher because a couple years ago it was a principal that got named as one of those. And so I just want to kind of put that on everybody's radar. I am not sure what the due date is for anyone that wants to. They also have Business of the Year, Citizen of the Year, Public Servant of the Year, those kinds of things. But because educators and education is our wheelhouse, if anyone thinks of someone that goes above and beyond, you can contact the chamber that is no longer in the old hotel, now is in the Port Building, and even ask to have the email version sent to you to nominate. Thank you.
Very good. All right, moving on to item C3, superintendent informational items. Do we have any questions on the May financial report?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. So, I took a WASDA training on, I can't even remember the title, but it was a financial one. They had 3 awesome financial trainings from WASDA. It was like a 3 or 4 hour training online. And there were 3 other districts, other board members from different districts across the state, and they tell you how the OSPI analyzes and gives grades to every district financially across the state. And so they go through this whole process for like 2.5 hours of explaining how and why they come up with these numbers. And then they finally say, here's the website, go check it out, which is so frustrating because I'm like, just show me the number and then tell me how they came up with it. And for the last 3 years, Othello has gotten like A+ scores. And all of the other board members said to me, how do you guys have such great numbers? I said, well, first of all, we have amazing staff. And that knows what they're doing and does an amazing, amazing job. And then I also explained, well, we have some policies that make it so that we have these reserves, and like there was 4 different big components. But then even the WASDA people said, Othello is kicking ass. Not exactly in those words, but but it was like everyone was stunned at what our numbers were. So, woohoo!
Kudos to.
Yes, kudos to Amy and then to know, and then I was laughing about it because I was like, what you don't know is we've had like 4 or 5 people in the lead position through all of that time, but our long-term people that have been here and done all of the work are making it so we still shine.
Do you want to?
Could I just add one verbal update as it relates to summer school? I think it's important. We did have an adjustment here at the end of the week. And I think it's a great evidence of the collaboration between all the departments in the school district. So Marion Shade in transportation, Greg Foltz from safety and risk management, and our leaders in teaching and learning, they started a conversation on Friday afternoon about the heat that is coming through our area and the need to consider adjusting our calendar for summer school. And I think it was, for me, evidence of some of the lessons we learned during COVID. We can change things pretty quick when we get committed to it. And so from Friday afternoon to the end of the day, we made a determination that we needed to cancel summer school for Monday and Tuesday out of the interest of safety for our students. Our buses are not equipped to deal with this extreme heat. Our students have never been asked to wear masks. It didn't make sense to put those little guys on those buses. And so we made the decision to close for 2 days. So why 2 days? Really, that gave Marion time over the weekend to process and to flip the AM and PM students. Because what was happening is the country kids were coming in the afternoon, in the heat of the day, spending an awful lot of time on a bus. We know that's not right to do that to our students. And so Marion was able to make those transitions, and we take Monday and Tuesday to communicate with those families, to call them and say, we know switching your schedule means something at your house. You need a couple days to get ready. So really wanted to highlight the work between Marion and Greg and the folks in teaching and learning. John Wiseman helped with that approach in contacting all the principals. And I think it's really strong evidence of keeping students first. It was really good work by some really good people.
No, and I want to commend anybody involved with that, Pete, because at the end of the day, these are some, I can't remember it being this hot for a long time around here. And then I heard from an employee that rides the bus and says, it is unbearable. You feel sorry for these kids. And this is before the 1:10 or 12, whatever it was today and what is supposed to be tomorrow. So I think as long as, we're keeping the kids at the forefront, and safety is one of our higher topics, and this decision was made based on the safety of them. Kudos for making that happen.
I have a son that goes to CB Tech over the summer, and even though CB Tech, we're part of a co-op with different districts, I knew that a different district controlled that. And so I was able to send an email to transportation, because by the time I got it, everybody had gone for the day. And so I was like, but what about CB Tech? There's like 5 kids that this affects. That means 5 families. So what's the plan there? And got the email back. That special bus has AC. We're still taking them. So my son was very unexcited, but but it was great they already had that planned, and knew what the plan was, and that and I appreciate that it is all about the students, their safety, their health, and the transition that's going to take some time. So thank you to the district and everyone else involved. Amazing choice.
I have a question, Pete. With our current mask policy, is that state law? Is that local recommendation? Is that a suggestion, or is that straight up mandatory? Because if we can adjust that for our summer school students, I think the board would really be interested in doing that.
Yeah, my understanding is the only flexibility we've been giving about next year, and we're considering summer school next school year, is around the attestation forms. So we're no longer requiring those from students. But in congregate settings, like schools and on buses, our understanding is the requirement is to continue to wear masks. Having said that, tomorrow, I think at 2 p.m. is the statewide COVID update from OSPI. So we're hoping tomorrow we'll get some additional clarity on masking expectations for the fall, and that will give us some guidance around next steps. Are they going to say, well, it's up to the local board? Are they going to turn it over to local departments of health? We're really not sure, but hopefully by tomorrow afternoon we'll have a better idea of what that is. But for right now, they do have to continue to wear masks on the bus.
Okay, moving on to item E1, policy review. Hopefully we took the time to review the modifications that Director Stevenson made to the surveys that'll go out to the community and the staff. Yes, he took the time to basically, the changes Jen had made are in a clear format. I read through them, and I think once these are answered, because I know our employees, even though they're off for the summer, most of them, they will be notified to take this. We should get some excellent feedback. I don't know if anybody has any, I don't see anybody changing anything on them, so I think it's just a matter of us okaying this to be able to be sent out.
And thank you to Jen for putting in
Very much
hours and
so.
hours of work.
It wasn't quite hours and hours, but thank
Oh.
you.
Took hours and hours to read, but so I thought, just kidding.
And so,
Just
I-
kidding.
does this need to be motioned, or can this just be on consensus? I'll motion that we accept the changes made to the community and staff surveys that'll be going out as soon as we approve these. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. The Board of Directors will recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss potential real estate purchase or lease, and 45 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. I am in a turmoil here. I'm trying to see. It says no action will be taken following the executive session. I would like to add possible action taken. I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting and modified the agenda. But for the public's info and our info, I would like to add that possible action taken after the executive session.
Okay, so does that mean that Zoom will resume? Oh, wow. After 1 hour? Or
If they'd like
can
to.
YouTube still be?
If they'd like to, we'll make sure that after the 1 hour, Zoom is available.
Okay, and then what are we going to do about YouTube?
I think that is the same thing.
No, it's not.
Oh,
YouTube,
Both,
Zoom.
yes. I got you.
Okay.
I see what you mean.
That just means you get to sit for an hour.
We have the technology, I'm being told. We have the capacity.
Okay,
So, yes.
awesome. If those two things are the case, I have no problem with this change in the
Okay,
agenda.
there will be, stay tuned at the end of the hour. If there's a need for more time, I will come out and make the announcement of that. So we will recess for 3 minutes and go back into Pete's office. Thank you for those that are tuning in tonight.
All right.
Are we going to Pete's office?